Loved by many, hated by few, respected by all, second to none, second to none. And you know what? This is a great day, and a day in which we're going to be talking about politics and education, and we're just going to kick it. You know, every time we have something prepared on the third Saturday of the month with, well, Michael Todd, man.
Wait. Why do we go through this every week? It's Michael J. Todd. I mean, every week we go through the same thing, man.
Okay.
I'm starting to feel disrespected.
That's what you said last week when we said the same thing.
I know, man. Okay. So now I'm starting to think it's intentional.
Of course, I'm Michael J. Todd. You know, but Michael J. Todd.
What about it?
You supposed to dress up for the show, man.
Well, you know what?
I mean, look. You got City Councilman Kenzie Moore over here in a suit.
Oh, clean too.
I'm in a suit.
Suit. I like that.
I'm in a suit.
Well, I don't know if I would call that a suit, but it is a jacket.
Okay, it's a jacket.
All right, it's a jacket.
It's a jacket.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Okay, we have our intelligent glasses on.
Yeah, I got those. But I've got my Todd Esquire, Perry Mason of the Hood sweatshirt on.
I didn't see that part.
And you know why?
Attention to detail, kids.
my daughter, the lovely Sydney Todd,
You right?
the mother of Nalani Todd, my granddaughter, she likes to buy me little T-shirts, sweatshirts with some type of branding idea on it.
I see.
She bought me one that said Todd Esquire, always pay the lawyer. Now, I love that. And so she came up with Todd Esquire, Perry Mason of the Hood. And I was like, man,
I'm gonna have to break protocol and just take a picture of that. Folks, bear with us for a second. They're gonna catch me on this one.
You want me to put this down for you?
Yeah. Oh, look at you. Want me to put this down for you?
Yeah. That way you can see it.
Yeah. Kind of stuck on yourself, aren't you, Counsel?
No. I mean, there was nothing.
I would have to be. You write your name, Perry Mason of the Hood.
Well, you know what? This is nothing I would have done myself.
But you do approve of this message.
But my daughter, I approve of her.
Oh.
And I want to encourage her ideas and her creative ability. And so, I'm wearing it.
Well, thank you, Michael
J.
Todd.
I appreciate it. You was about to forget it.
Yeah,
You see how I glanced over the glasses as I said it?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, man. What'd you bring with you, man?
I've got Kenzie Moore. Kenzie Moore not only is a good friend of mine, but he's also a former board member of the DeSoto ISD. He's also a former council member of the DeSoto City Council, and also was the mayor pro tem of the DeSoto City Council. So as we were talking about today, last month we talked about what? You remember what we talked about here?
That was last month.
Last month, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And we talked about how.
Yeah, you heard what I said? Oh, last month.
I know. So we talked about Jackson, Mississippi, and we talked about how the state legislature was trying to overturn or try to create a new police force, a new criminal justice system that will cut out some of the local control there in Jackson, Mississippi. You remember us talking about that?
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty, spirited debate and discussion. Well, as we were getting ready for this show, it was something that was along the same vein, because you remember what we talked about last time. We said, hey, look, folks, stuff like this happens, stuff like this, they use it step by step, incrementally, by increment, and then they say, we turn around and say, oh, how did this happen? How did this go down like this or whatever? And so what we have to do is keep everybody knowledgeable and aware of what's going on. And so we have this whole issue that comes up, and that's why Brother Moore is here with us today, because we get this news this past week that the TEA, the Texas Education Association, or administration, is it administration?
You're right.
TEA,
Agency.
that they have decided that they are going to take over the Houston Independent School District. And when we say take over, what they're saying is that they are going to fire the superintendent, they're going to fire the school board members, and they're going to come up with their own managers to oversee the independent school district. And so, do you see how that kind of ties in what we were talking about?
Yeah,
last
takeovers,
month?
right.
Takeovers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that's why I had to have Brother Moore here, because we wanted to talk about, and ask about his experience there when he was with DeSoto. Now, not while he was on the board, the school board, but afterwards, DeSoto had some interaction with TEA where they instituted a conservatorship with respect to DeSoto. And so while Brother Moore wasn't on the board at that time, he was on the council during the period of that time. And of course, as being an individual that's interested in what's going on in DeSoto, he of course has knowledge as it relates to what was going on then. Okay. So Ed, what did you think about when you saw this whole thing about they're going to take over the Houston Independent School District, which has about 278 schools? What did you think about that?
I thought it was. I didn't like it. Okay, first of all, I just didn't like it going on there, and I also thought it was a takeover based upon a race. I just go straight up and just say it. A lot of things in America is based upon race, and this shouldn't be one of those ones that I wouldn't think that it is. I've often found that it's disturbing is that a lot of the takeovers that have administrative oversight happens to be things that are run by people of color, primarily black people. Jackson, black city. Houston, school district, black again, and that's what I'm seeing. Kids?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. When I first heard about it, I kind of had the same feeling that you did, right?
Right.
But then I started doing a little more research, and I actually got this handout from the TEA, and it talked about Houston ISD and the TEA and the intervention history. And and some of this stuff, man, and you got to understand, I'm kind of conflicted here, because of course, I'm.
Your mic. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I'm a little conflicted here because some of these things, of course, as a black person, as a professional person, things of that nature, I'm interested in. But you also have to understand from my family history that education is something that's really important, not only to my parents, but to all of my sisters, my family, cousins and everybody. And when I started reading some of these facts, as it relates to the Houston ISD, I started wondering, well, damn, maybe they should be taking over. It says here in 2016 that Cashmere High School had 7 consecutive unacceptable performance ratings. That Wheatley High School had 5 consecutive unacceptable performance ratings. That 38 campuses received unacceptable academic ratings. And 14 campuses received unacceptable ratings for 3 or more years, right? That was in 2016. In 2019, with a conservator, Cashmere received an acceptable rating for first time in 11 years.
Hold up. Okay. Before you go any deeper, counsel.
Okay.
What's a conservative?
Well, I'm about to go through that.
Okay, thank you.
And matter of
Please
fact,
proceed.
Let me ask Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, DeSoto had a conservator.
Yes.
There we go.
What
generally is a conservator, and how does that person work?
Well, the conservator serves in many different roles and in many different capacities depending on the level that is needed for that particular district. You have a conservator that can be what's called an active conservator. That's one who is involved with the day-to-day operation of the district, working very closely with the board and the administration. Move from an active to a passive, and that's in that role they just monitor the district. the whole responsibility of the conservator really is to come into the district, help the board, help the administration, help the school rise above some of the challenges that they're having. In most cases, in order for a conservator to come to a district, there has to be 3 or 4 things that are happening. Number one, it has to be a continuation of poor performance. Number two, there has to be some financial issues that may be present that have been discovered. Number three, there could be some dysfunctioning happen on with the board itself. So therefore, we're talking about governance. So when those things are not happening and the students is performing poorly over a consecutive period of time, it used to be roughly 2 years. Now they've moved it to 5 years since the bill passed in 2015. But let me just point out some of the responsibility. The conservator is to assess the district academic performance, to help them to develop a plan to address those deficiencies, to monitor the implementation of those plans, and to report back regularly to the commissioner. And in the case of a particular district or a school, they are to develop a plan as to how they're going to rectify those issues. That's the whole purpose. When a conservator come in, that means that there are some serious challenges. And the conservator is the final say. The conservator can disband the board. The conservator can appoint a board of managers to oversee the district by eliminating those elected officials. Now, that's pretty dramatic when that happens, because now you got the local level having to be removed out of elected positions, and you have the state coming in and dictating to that district as to how things will happen. And then it's monitored.
And when you say the state, we're not talking about state elected officials.
No.
We're talking about people that are appointed to the TEA.
Yes.
Who are now non-elected individuals that are responsible to no one other than the governor.
Well, they are appointed by the commission from the people that lives in that district.
Okay.
Let me give an example. So that DeSoto has 7 districts. Okay. So the commissioner, and actually it's the conservator, and the commissioner can come in and look at those districts, and they can put out information for people to apply. But the decision is made by the commission and the conservator.
Of who will actually serve.
Exactly.
Okay.
And those terms, normally they, of course they're not elected, so they normally review them every 2 years if it is needed to continue that situation by having a board of managers.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, you said usually this conservator. Now, a conservator may be a lower level of involvement than, let's say, what TEA is talking about for Houston. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
The conservator, number one, is supported by the TEC. He's normally an assistant superintendent, you may call, or assistant commissioner to the TEC. That person, in our case in DeSoto, was a gentleman by the name of A.J. Crabbill. They assigned him to DeSoto to be the conservator roughly in 2019.
Okay. Now, let me ask this. You said there were 3 things that usually would cause someone to come in.
Yeah.
Poor performance by students over a period of time is one. You called it financial issues, which basically was a nice way of saying
Financial
folks
failure.
were stealing. Somebody was stealing.
Okay.
Or they wasn't doing good with the money, right?
Well, you said that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hey,
You said
Okay.
that.
that's what he
Okay.
said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the third thing was what?
Academic performance, governance on the board.
Oh, and then
dysfunctionality
distraction for the
of the
board.
board.
I like the way the lawyers say they people. Normally, lawyers say, well, "That's not the proper way."
Well,
to
I'm being very careful about what I
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
I said you said that. I didn't
Yeah, I
say
understand
that.
it.
Now, the thing is this.
Yeah.
When I look at the TEA handout
Yes.
with respect to Houston,
Yes.
it seems like they've got outlined here low performance by
Yes.
schools for extended periods of time.
Yes.
They've got a former board president and 4 HISD officials plead guilty to federal corruption charges. They got the HISD chief COO indicted,
Operating officer.
chief operating officer indicted for multi-million-dollar bribery and kickback schemes. And then they've got that the school board basically was operating not inconsistent with the law.
That's true.
So if I'm sitting here looking, and I'm not getting into the black or white thing of it right now, but if I'm just looking at it from an educational standpoint now, I'm thinking, well, dang, that's a whole lot of stuff. Maybe they should be taken over if we're talking about education for the
Well,
kids. What
let's
do you
see.
think?
Going back to what I was saying earlier, though, just on face value of it alone, because this has been a trend that black school districts have been taking over. Wilma Hutchins have been taken over as well. And for some of those same things that you just mentioned as well.
Right.
You know, but is it true or is it not? That's what we're talking about here.
Well, the thing is this. I'm really, you know, I really want the kids to be able to learn. You follow me? And so if it's a situation where people are not performing, then I mean, why shouldn't somebody come in and look at this? And I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate as well. When we first had this conversation, I mentioned that I had reached out to the education commissioner,
correct,
Michael Morale.
Now he's your frat brother.
He's my frat brother.
Okay,
yeah, he's alpha.
He's alpha.
He's alpha.
Okay.
I mean, he's a white guy.
He's a white guy.
Yeah. He's alpha.
So
Yeah.
what was his line name? Like White Shadow?
I know Michael.
It was something similar to that.
Casper?
No. Get your boy, man. that's all I got to say.
Taking cold medicine.
Get your boy. That's it.
So I'm saying.
Now, but his name, I think, was similar to the first one you mentioned.
White Shadow? Something like that? Okay.
But anyway, he was appointed, and as I told you before, I believe, as I said to you in our conversation, our pre-meeting, pre-radio podcast, radio show meeting, I said I believe that he's a fair guy.
Yeah.
You believe he's a fair guy?
Yeah.
So even though, and now I'm flipping the script totally.
Because at first you was like, hey, yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing is this. While I say let's look at the educational aspect and whether that's being, and I'm gonna come back and swing the gate the other way, you know, in a second or two. But the thing is this, is that I also am concerned about the tenor of what has been happening with school boards across this, not only this state, but also across the nation. We have talked about before down in Colleyville and places like that, where they're doing all this no CRT stuff. They're using school board elections to try to indoctrinate kids while not protecting those individuals that are black or Hispanic from abuse and things of that nature. So with that being said, I'm also concerned, is this a Republican power grab, right? Because Abbott and his minions, right, have been doing all of these things. No 1619 project, you know, in school. They passed a law with respect to that. Yeah. So are they using this as a way to try to grab hold of that large Houston ISD system to be able to run it and to eradicate anything from it that they're not agreeable with? So I've got that concern too, which goes the opposite way of what I just said a while ago.
Well, those are fair concerns to have. Definitely, those are fair concerns to have, because that is what's been happening. But it may not necessarily be the intentions for this.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, so you know, or you have interacted with the commissioner before.
And the one prior to that too, which was Michael Williams, Michael
Okay.
L. Williams as well.
And so you think he's a fair guy. So do you, based on your interaction with him, you don't think there's any type of ulterior motive here?
No, I don't.
Or is it about education of the
No, I
children?
think it's about education of the children.
Well, you know, Michael Williams is from Grand Prairie, and he's a Republican.
Arlington.
Arlington, Grand Prairie, and he's a Republican. He served as head of TEC. I think he's a very fair person as well. However, I think we need to back up and look at the genesis of how this all began, and that's mainly was the focus of that one school, Wheatley, who has continuously performed very poorly. And this was the issue that kept coming up in regard to that school, although there were other schools. And Wheatley is a economically disadvantaged school, which is 95% children of color. And it's a large school, but yet it has been performing very poorly. Up until roughly 2019, 2020, I think it's roughly now at a C grade when it had continuously been at an F grade. For that matter, the whole district of Houston has improved over the last few years, because right now Houston is graded a B. And there are people that are asking the question that you have to look at the fact that when these things was happening, there was a different board.
Mm-hmm.
They're no longer there.
Correct.
You had a different superintendent. That person is no longer there. The district has risen from a failing district to a more acceptable district, and they continue to improve, but yet you still want to come in and remove the board and put in a board of managers, even for these schools that are doing well. There is some issues. However, my concern is that you are using a broad brush and hitting the whole district, whereas there are some things that you could have done to focus on those difficult schools. There are programs that could have done. There could have been plans put in place.
But the thing is this, though, Mr. Moore, they couldn't have done those things, and I'm saying TEA, because when back in 2020,
Yes.
January 2020, when TEA decided they were going to take over then,
Yes,
the HISD went to court and
That's right.
got an injunction.
that's correct.
And that injunction went from January 2020 all the way till March
Yeah.
of first of 2023.
Mhm.
So they couldn't do anything because of the injunction. Now, I think the points that you made are really good points, though, because during the time period of that injunction, like you said, they did
Yes.
hire a new superintendent.
Yes, new board.
They have a new board.
Mhm.
They have improved.
Yes.
Right? And the new superintendent just came in 2021.
Yes, Mr. House.
And the commissioner has also said that he's been doing a great job.
Yes,
So now I kind of throw it back. So maybe you are right, Ed. Maybe you are right that they're trying to take over now. Maybe it is some kind of ulterior motive to this. Because now you have what? You're doing good. We're improving. So why take over them now?
You got me on that one, and I'll respond. The response is that this is the tenor of the times. That it seems to be that every governing body likes to flex on another governing body.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying maybe this is a situation where TEA tried to take over in 2020. They got an injunction that said they couldn't. It battled through the courts for 21, 23 years. And now that it has been, now that they've won, TEA has won in court, even though the situation isn't as bad anymore, they just like, we're going to teach y'all anyway and take y'all over anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
you know, my concern about that whole analogy is that you have the TEC and you have the governor coming into local government and taking away the power that has been instilled at the local level. And when you do that, then what does that say to the people of that community, those elective officials? If you want to change something, you have the opportunity in voting them out. That's what they did in Houston. Same thing in any small community, and particularly when it's a community of color. They have to be very careful because now you come in there, just like you mentioned that they did in Mississippi or doing in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real challenge is that you must look at the local aspect and allow the local officials and the local governors to take place. I'm not saying that the TEC should not come in and monitor and look and evaluate what's happening. I'm saying that there should be some programs, there should be a plan put in place to assist the local the local officials there and getting them to the level that's acceptable. And that's what happened in DeSoto. DeSoto went through that process, and I have to tell you, because of the leadership of our president, which is Ms. Flemings, and the leadership of our new superintendent, which is Dr. Roger and Dr. Flemings, has come in and they worked with our conservator. And the conservator laid down some goals and objectives that need to be accomplished before he would move from the active to the passive. And they completed that under their leadership. And so now our conservator is just mainly just monitoring the activity that's going on in the district, but that all happened because of strong leadership, where you can eliminate some of the issues that become distractions in your district to focus in on your students.
you know, one thing that you said that really resonates with me, though, is when you indicated that you're concerned that the elected individuals are being removed from their positions.
Yes, sir.
You know, we see that also in some of the frameworks for the voting rights.
Yes.
For what they call voter integrity type
Yes,
laws.
that's correct.
Where now state officials can come in and remove some of the county vote administrators.
That's correct.
If they determine stuff isn't going right.
Just because they don't like it.
That's because they don't like it. We see that down in Florida.
Yes.
Where DeSantis has removed a local prosecutor
That's right.
because he didn't like how he was handling his job,
Yes.
rather than allowing the voters to handle that case.
And he's a Democrat.
Yeah, the one that was removed.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so when we think about it, though, let's think about this. They're coming in and they're going to remove the superintendent who's been doing a good job and this new board that's doing a good job, right? They have ushered in improvement, right?
Yes.
Primarily over one school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have 278 schools.
That's correct.
So that's one part of this that bothers me. It seems like if we're going to take over a district, it shouldn't be because one school out of all of them is underperforming. It seems like it should be some percentage, like 10% of the schools or 20% of the schools aren't performing, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to come in and strong arm a whole district over one school, I mean, that just doesn't seem right. It seems like we should revisit this law, which was co-sponsored by a Democrat.
And we're going to revisit that in a minute. Angelo?
Yes, sir.
We're going to take a couple of breaks for a minute. Let's play, you know we got to have Gail Lamb Todd drop. And let's play. Yeah, Kenzie, you can come here as well and get your drop played. We'll play your drop as well. And you know, since we're talking about DeSoto and everything, and we're gonna get closer to home. Let's get to Thibodeau's. It's close enough to DeSoto, so let's go over there. So let's play that and some of my Ed Gray drops. We'll see you in a minute.
Oh boy.
Who was that masked man? You mean you don't know? That was no masked man. That was the Commish. Saturdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Gail Todd with Townview Realtors. If you find yourself in the market to buy, sell, lease, or maybe you want to be a part of this hot real estate market by investing, just give my team of professionals and I a call at 214-675-9572. Again, that's 214-675-9572. Or you can email me at gtodd88@yahoo.com. With me, it's all about you.
Hey, you know, whenever I want good Cajun food, I go to Thibodeau's, located at 107 North Cedar Ridge in Duncanville, Texas. They're really hot, just like the Commish radio show in Thibodeau's. Hot as this gumbo. We will see you later at Thibodeau's.
All right. Well, Michael Todd has just stepped out, and during his absence, that means I'm going to be running the show. And these are the things I'm going to be deciding in Michael Todd's. Michael J. Todd. We're back again with Michael J. Todd. What were you saying?
Legal standpoint with Michael J.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Legal standpoint with Michael J. Todd. Kenzie Moore, what do you think about this show, man?
I love it, and I think it's a great place to get some very informative information on things that are happening current in our society, and particularly here locally. I think we need more of this.
Well,
and so and Commish, I think this is just great, man.
Well,
thank you.
Now, thank you. Have your friends to come on board. I can be here every day, man.
I sure will.
You know, we'll do that.
Yeah,
We can
I
definitely
want to
do
thank
that.
also Attorney Michael J. Todd.
Michael
for
J.
reminding
Todd,
me.
that's right.
I know the J.
Yeah, Michael J. Todd. I mess with him all the time. I put
what?
in G in it before.
Wait.
I see, like Fred G. said.
Or just MJ.
Now, you know what? My man knows the J, but then the brother I'm paying, he act like he don't know.
But you know, man, but I know. I just like doing it. You notice every time I look right at you, go, there you go. I know this is about to go with it.
It's great.
All right. Perry Mason of the Hood, what you got, man?
Well, you know what? I mean, I just been thinking. I've been thinking about. I know you gave the affirmation that you know the commissioner, but as I'm weighing the educational, the educational pursuits or the quality of education that the students are receiving versus the trends that are going on of power grabs.
Yep.
I'm really getting to the point where I'm starting to think it may be some ulterior motives in this whole.
Well, I'd said that as well too. I'd said that every organization, every governmental entity likes to flex on another one. This has happened in Texas all the time between the governor and County Judge Clay Jenkins. He's a prime example of that.
Right.
And then down in Houston, not only with the school board, but with the voting in Houston, what they're doing with.
And you know what? Let's talk about that, because out of this whole voting law stuff, there has been a real spotlight on what happened in Houston during the general election of 2020. They had voting mechanisms set up where people could drive through and vote.
Right.
They had 24-hour voting. They had drop boxes for voting. And that really, those type things that the Houston County voting administrator did has really ticked off those individuals in Austin about Houston. So do you think that maybe this is a continuation of we're going to try to do what? Put Houston in its place? Because, the whole voting right laws, it was everything that they were passing was trying to limit those things that Houston had done. And so now we have this whole thing again where they're talking about taking over the school district over a school while the district has been improving and they have a B rating. I mean, it makes me think that now it's not maybe about the kids, maybe it's personal. Maybe it's power. Maybe it's just a situation where now they just want to do whatever they want to do, which has been going on around the country. What do you think?
I do agree with you that I believe it is political. I believe that the unfortunate aspect is that it's about grabbing control of what goes on in our district, as well as who our elected officials are. And what's so interesting about this is that there was a time when that particular party always said, keep less government out of our home. And yet now there's more government control
on a local level.
On the local level.
Right.
You also see it, and not just in Frisco, but you see it in Cullen County. You see it in Kaufman County. You see these school boards are being bombarded by people that have their own agenda and wanting to now control the aspect of what is being taught, like critical race theory,
right,
and things like that, and what, what can and what shouldn't be taught based upon the majority of the district.
Right. So it's not about educational pursuit anymore. To have conflicting ideas for students to then be able to make determinations on their own. It's indoctrination of, hey, we want you to think this way.
Yes, and we don't want our kids to learn this stuff.
Right.
Because that stuff diminishes them and it uplifts the others.
Well, you know what? Now, Kenzie, this is his first time on the show.
Yeah.
But he has hit a theme that we have talked about before, Ed. And that was, I've always said that what galvanized all of this critical race theory, voting rights stuff, this voting integrity stuff, was the George Floyd protests. Because when you looked at those protests, those just wasn't just a million black folks out there.
Correct.
There were, so many white kids out there, individuals who just saw what happened as wrong.
Yes.
And there is a segment in this country that does not want people to see that the emperor has on those clothes.
Yes.
And I think they're trying to do everything they can to ensure that only their chain of thought is taught within these schools. And to make it okay for those individuals to now think, all this other stuff is just baloney.
Yes, like
it's
the
just
1619 project.
The 1619 project and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we're about to go to a close. We got 5 more minutes. Just let us know how we're doing on time. But you know, this Houston deal, and it's a bigger picture. I think it was Thomas Paine. No, who said this is bigger than me. Mm-hmm. That wasn't Thomas Paine. Who said that?
You got me on. You know, I usually catch it.
No, you didn't catch my. You didn't catch that.
No.
You didn't catch that in New Jack City.
Wait.
This is bigger than me.
It's bigger than me? Oh, is that what Nino Brown
Yeah.
said? It's bigger than me. I ain't got no brains or whatever. Okay.
You see, it wasn't Thomas Paine. It was. It wasn't Thomas Paine. It was Nino Brown. I mean, yeah, threw him out. You know how we start with somebody. You know
common
that
sense.
right? Common sense. You know, Thomas Paine. Then he shifted something like that's Nino Brown. Ain't no common sense. Say this is bigger than me, you know. So it is bigger than me because what we're talking about is a whole thing. The whole framework that we're talking about is bigger than just the school district here. Mm-hmm. It's bigger than that because now you brought in Florida. You brought in this where you know he is now talking about taking fraternities and sororities out of college schools, state colleges. Mm-hmm. Which we'll be talking about this next week on the Commish Radio Show when Oscar Joyner will be joining us from Florida A&M. So, you know, that's what's going on in Florida. And then we go to Jackson where they don't even have clean water. That's right. And they're taking over the judicial system in Jackson.
But not trying to take care of the water system.
But not taking care of the water system.
Right.
And then we got Chris Hollins, who's running for mayor in Houston. That was the one that was responsible for making sure that people were voting in great numbers. So what's going to happen next down there? He's going to try, meaning another governmental entity may do and slap Houston, the city of Houston or the county of Harris or something.
Right. Well, under that provision, they could remove the election administrators now. Yeah. You know.
So that's what I'm saying. It's bigger than me.
Yeah. It's bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it can't be overcome unless all of us get involved. Yeah. Okay. So each person has a responsibility, and so that's what we have to do. You know, we always talk about, you know, what can we do? We got to vote, right? Yeah. And the people who say, okay, well, I'm voting, but we losing, then that means we have to start reaching out to get more people to vote.
May I say something at the local level for DeSoto, Texas? And I want to say this again, that we have had a turnaround because of leadership, and that is Dr. Flemings and Dr. Rogers, who are both our president and our superintendent. And it has made a tremendous difference in our community because now our citizens are able to see the progress that the district is making and embracing the changes that these two leaders have brought about in our district.
All right. Well, let you have the last word since you obviously said you're paying for this show. Go ahead.
Well, like I just said, we have to vote. We have to reach out to people. We have to get other people to vote. We've got to support people who are filing court cases because court cases are important. And as my man Frederick Douglass says, we got to make sure that we participate in all 3 boxes. The ballot box, which I already said, the jury box, which I've already said, and the bullet box. Because when all else fails, you got to be able to protect yourself.
All right. I think that's it. He's hit us with all those boxes right there. We got to check the box. So I want you to check the box next week when we come back on the Commish Radio Show, and we will have Oscar Joyner and Ron Fry joining us from Florida A&M University. So he'll be here in the studios, and we'll be talking about the governor of Florida. And what he's trying to do.
You were going to say the great state, but you had to stop yourself, huh?
I do.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Michael J. Todd. So, hey, we'll see you guys later. The clock on the wall says it's time to go. We're out.
All right.
Take care.
Hey, thank you. Hey, thanks everybody for watching.
Hey, how you doing? This is Ed Gray of the Commish Radio Show. Stay tuned and tune in and be up to speed on everything in social justice, human rights, and politics on the Commish Radio Show, airing every Saturday, 5 p.m. on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Jump in.